you will find that things are not always fair. You will find that things happen to you that you do not deserve and that are not always warranted. But you have to put your head down and fight, fight, fight.
And that's the first rule of Donald Trump's Fight Club. While his political opponents declare him inching toward impeachment, the president came out swinging at an address for Coast Guard graduates a short time ago.
Never, ever, ever give up. Look at the way I've been treated lately. No politician in history has been treated worse. You can't let the critics and the naysayers get in the way of your dreams.
No prizes for guessing who most threatens the president's dreams today.
Let's, oh, and there's James. He's become more famous than me.
James is even more famous now, thanks to perhaps the president's greatest misstep so far. When he fired the FBI director last week, he turned the intelligence chief loose and weaponized all he knows. Which leads us to the leak du jour, the memo jotted down by Comey, an avid note-taker, which suggests the president, on Valentine's Day, asked him to shut down the investigation into Mike Flynn's contacts with Russia. According to reports, the Comey memo states that the president said, "I hope you can see your way clear to letting this go, to letting Flynn go. He's a good guy." Mr. Comey apparently gave no commitment but agreed he's a good guy. Does that constitute an obstruction of justice? Some are already convinced.
I rise today, Mr. Speaker, to call for the impeachment of the President of the United States of America.
This is what happened. The president said
Senior Democrats called for James Comey to give public testimony, and they want an independent investigator.
Yeah, it may take a little time, but this is not about us. This is bigger than us. This is bigger than President Trump. This is about the soul of our democracy. I keep saying that.
Republicans say they want to know the truth too, but not to the exclusion of everything else.
People in America turn on the TV and they think this is all that's happening. This is all we're doing and all we're discussing. That's just not the case. I want the American people to know that we're busy, hard at work, fixing their problems.
There is frustration at the crisis-ridden White House, but few Republicans in Congress appear ready to commit political suicide to remove a Republican president. Still, the Comey memo only widens the web of allegations already entangling President Trump. Here's a refresher. It was February when the president's national security advisor, Mike Flynn, stepped down after just 23 days in the job over revelations he lied about discussing sanctions with Russian ambassador to the US, Sergei Kislyak, a few weeks before Mr. Trump became president. In Congress, at least 5 standing committees and 1 subcommittee are investigating Russian interference in the election or ties between Trump associates and Russia. 6 agencies are involved: the CIA, Justice Department, NSA, the Office of the Director of National Intelligence, and the Treasury Department. Oh, and of course, the FBI. Last week, after the president sacked FBI Director James Comey, he finally revealed, despite earlier excuses, Russia was on his mind when he made the call.
And in fact, when I decided to just do it, I said to myself, I said, you know, this Russia thing with Trump and Russia is a made-up story. It's an excuse by the Democrats for having lost an election.
Then yesterday, the president was accused of spontaneously sharing highly classified intelligence with Russia's Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov and Ambassador Sergei Kislyak. Trolling Trump, the Russian President Vladimir Putin offered to share his foreign minister's notes on that meeting to clear up any confusion. The president's penchant for strongmen played out in a far less subtle way in Washington yesterday. After a meeting between Trump and Turkey's President Erdogan, witnesses say members of the visitors' security detail were among those recorded on the lawns of the ambassador's residence, rushing and beating protesters, many of them Armenian. It's a close-up look at the trouble powerful friends abroad can get you into. The president more than aware too today of the even deeper trouble powerful enemies at home can cause.
Well, the prospect of impeachment has reared its head twice before in living memory, during the presidencies of Richard Nixon and Bill Clinton. But in neither case did the process end in their enforced removal from office. So what are the chances that Donald Trump's term could end in impeachment?
The President of the United States.
This seems like ancient history now. President Trump's first address to Congress in February.
I am here tonight to deliver a message of unity and strength.
Ill-tempered tweets were replaced for a few hours by mellifluous rhetoric. Donald Trump looked and sounded presidential. Now the question being asked is this: could the same audience become the jury for their president?
The power of impeachment is one of those great checks and balances written in our Constitution to ameliorate the stark doctrine of the separation of powers.
Impeachment proceedings against Richard Nixon after Watergate in 1974. Congress turned into a court. But to impeach a president and remove him from office requires a simple majority of the House and a 2/3 majority of the Senate. And full impeachment has never happened to a sitting president, not even to Tricky Dicky.
I shall resign the presidency effective at noon tomorrow.
He got away with it. How? By resigning before the impeachment got into full swing. By the way, it's a measure of the scale of this scandal under Trump that it has outgrown the suffix "gate." Trump is in a class of his own. The second president to come close to impeachment was this guy.
I did not have sexual relations with that woman.
Bill Clinton went through an impeachment process but was acquitted by the Senate and served out his full term. If all this sounds political, that's because it is, and the Republicans control both houses of Congress. For them to vote to impeach Trump would be like turkeys voting for Christmas. And like everything else, this issue further divides an already divided America and its tribal airtime warriors on cable television. Trump supporters still stick by their man, while others smell Watergate blood.
We are well on our way to impeachment because I think there's a clear set of facts that show obstruction of justice.
The fact is, I don't think this makes out an obstruction case. We need to understand that right now, this is pretty thin soup for either a criminal or an impeachment proceeding.
But it ultimately depends on the potential jurors, especially the Republicans in Congress, whether they stay loyal to their president or prepare to cut him loose. So far, the latter are in a tiny minority.
I think we've seen this movie before. I think it's reaching the point where it's of Watergate size and scale and a couple of other scandals that you and I have seen. It's a centipede and the shoe continues to drop.
But who's America? To Trump's supporters, he is a man more sinned against than sinning. That's why the Senate Majority Leader is still siding with him.
Are you starting to lose confidence in President Trump?
No.
The trouble is that Trump loves drama. He thrives on it. It sharpened his wits and his elbows in the cement jungle of Manhattan real estate. It's always served him well, and it made his name on television.
You're fired. You're fired. You're fired.
But the clue is in the golden chairs. Trump is trying to run the White House like he used to run his family firm. No shareholders, no voters, minimum accountability. It doesn't work like that in his new home, especially when you pick fights with the CIA, the FBI, and most of the press. The wheels of congressional justice turn slowly in America, but with his impulsive tweets, Trump may just be speeding them up.
Well, joining me now from Washington is the former White House Senior Director and Senior Advisor to the State Department, Nayara Huck, and from Virginia, the former CIA Intelligence Officer, Michael Scheuer. Nayara Huck, where do you think this is going?
Well, it seems to be quite Nixonian in nature. Unfortunately, as we mentioned earlier, this is a Republican-controlled Congress, and Congress is supposed to be the check on a presidency. And without Congress being willing to even question the idea that there is treason in the White House in the terms of leaks to the Russians, without them being able to even question that in public nature, it's difficult to see articles of impeachment coming through any time before the midterm election in November 2018.
Right, so this is a long process for you.
Absolutely. We're looking at the long game here. Again, this is, as you mentioned, it's a partisan issue. Not quite sure why the Republican majority isn't looking to a Vice President Pence and potentially elevating him. Word around here is that because the former GOP, the Republican head of the party, is now the White House Chief of Staff, there's some coordination there to keep the Republicans in line in support of President Trump. But you do have rumblings here right behind me on Capitol Hill. Mitch McConnell, the Senate leader, talking about how every day is another drama and another missed opportunity to actually push forward any legislative agenda. So you do have people who are frustrated on the Republican side. Clearly, Democrats are up in arms and talking about their own agenda as terms of the resistance. Civil society has been active in the United States in ways we've never seen before. But the authority to actually do articles of impeachment resides with Congress.
Okay.
And absent Congress changing its makeup, we're not going to see any movement in that formal capacity.
Michael Scheuer, where do you think this is going?
I think it'll blow over before long. I think that was kind of a lame explanation. This whole business about the Russians pivots off of one issue, and that's a private sector IT company who works for Hillary Clinton saying that there was evidence of Russian tampering with the DNC servers. And the DNC has refused to give those servers to the FBI, which is a clear sign that Comey is their sort of their poop boy, because the FBI can get what it wants when it comes to investigating espionage.
Well, I guess we'll find out more, won't we?
Yeah,
I mean, once the FBI hands over any tapes that exist, and when the FBI hands over any memos or notes that exist of these meetings, there's probably a bit more to it. I mean, what do you think the American people think when they see their own Republicans calling for Trump to be impeached?
Well, you have to understand, sir, that Trump not only defeated the Democrats, but he defeated the Republicans. And I'm afraid to say, but what's been coming for more than 40 years is going to be here. The people who put Trump into power are not going to let him be impeached by a couple of establishments who are basically afraid of what he's going to do with his Justice Department to undo the theft and crimes that they've committed in their little cove here in Washington. They're the best armed, best trained.
It's actually a very valid point. You're making a very...
Nara Hutt, go ahead.
If I may, you're making a very valid point in terms of, the people who support Trump are quite ardently in Trump's corner, even though he's had the lowest approval ratings that we've ever seen in history, particularly for a first-term president who should be enjoying a honeymoon period right now. His approval rating is around 31%. Nixon had supporters as well. He was kicked out of office, resigned, rather than being impeached. He had 36%. So looking at approval numbers isn't exactly the way to understand what's going on with the broader population. You have 70%, which is far more than the number of people who support Trump right now. And you have
it was the same number that said Hillary was going to win, isn't it?
People. It's an interesting chorus of people who, Democrats, Republicans, you have agency officials, ex-FBI officials. We've rarely seen this type of coalition come together.
Michael
and
Scheuer.
It's really only coming together, frankly, not because of domestic policy. It's only coming together because of the issues of national security.
I mean, Michael Scheuer, I mean, Nixon went before it could happen. Clinton survived it. Trump won't step down, will he? He's not going to go until he's impeached. He'll fight it and he'll take this to his supporters.
And his supporters will come to his defense with rifles if necessary. That's just the way it is.
So do you think he'll survive?
Oh, absolutely. This is all a farce, sir. The young lady you had there, nor yourself, has what evidence are we working on besides Hillary Clinton's IT company here about Russia? None.
Well,
you have no evidence.
Thank you very much indeed, Michael Scheuer. We must leave it there. But I guess once the Senate Intelligence Committee gets its evidence, we'll be able to look at it eventually. Thank you both very much indeed, Nara Hutt. Thank you for joining us as well.